All right, we are now joined by our pole sitter for tomorrow's Enjoy Illinois 300, Michael McDowell, driver of the number 34 Front Row Motorsports Ford. Congratulations, Michael. Why don't you talk us through your lap there?
Yeah, it was great. I'm so thankful that we got practice and qualifying in, right? When we looked last night and this morning, we were like, not sure if this is going to happen. But yeah, really this practice went really smooth. We unloaded pretty close. Had to work a little bit on the balance, but, with this type of practice and qualifying, you just have to be close when you unload. And Travis Peterson and Griff and all the guys did a great job of bringing us a fast Ford Mustang again. It's the second round isn't new to us this year, but I feel like we've got into the second round several times and then not made that next jump in that next round where we might be third, fourth, or fifth that first round, and then end up eighth, ninth, or 10th in that second round. So I'm just thankful that we were able to make all the right adjustments and give ourselves a great shot at getting the pole. I mean, obviously we had tremendous speed, and so that was a lot of fun. There's a couple Ford Mustangs up front, so that's good. And tomorrow with track position and pit stall selection and all the things that are super important here, this is a great start of the weekend for us, and we just got to maximize the opportunity. We got to capitalize, and we have to execute, and we need a win desperately to get into the playoffs, and we know that, and we know that the next 4 to 5 weeks are great opportunities for us, and so we're kicking it off right.
All right, we're going to open it up for questions. We will start with Reed Spencer.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire. Congratulations.
Thank you.
3 real quick ones. First, you and Cindric were the only 2 guys to go to third gear
Hey, don't tell anybody. Don't say
in the last 2 corners.
Yeah.
How did you figure that out?
Ooh, I don't want to answer that. Study and preparation and execution. Well, I'll run you through it, okay? Because everybody's going to look anyway. So last year we were third or fourth in practice. Had a really fast car. We were on the 10-lap average, everything was really good, top 5 car. And I thought with the speed that you'd pick up in qualifying and the extra grip that you had, that extra downshift would probably overslow it and would hurt you. So, my plan last year was to run fourth in 3 and 4, and I did. And, I lost a tenth and a half in that corner compared to all the guys that downshifted. And so studying that, looking at it, and highlighting it, I just knew that that's what I needed to do. And then the flip side of it, the only one that made the second round before I went out, the downshift, was Austin Cindric. And everybody else ran fourth in turn 3. And so then you're scratching your head as you're sitting in the car, all that studying, all that planning, what do you do? And the thing that I've learned with this car, and maybe it's with experience, but I feel like in particular with this car when it comes to qualifying, you just have to execute your plan. And I planned all week to do that, and I'm just going to execute my plan, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so I just committed to it, and fortunately we're on the right side of it because it could easily gone the other way. And so, yeah, that's what's tough about this car is you're really splitting hairs trying to find that extra tenth, right? And that's what the difference was. It was a tenth between had I downshifted last year versus not. And you don't want to leave anything on the table. And so just really had a plan, executed the plan, and it turned out to be the right one.
And second, just how big a source of pride is it to do this on a 1.25 mile quirky speedway rather than a super speedway?
Yeah. So, Talladega and Atlanta were special. They are. Getting the pole there was special because it always is every weekend such a team effort. We all know that. You can't go fast without fast race cars. But in particular at Talladega and Atlanta, the driver's not a big part of whether or not you're going to qualify well. You still have to execute. You still got to get through the gears. So I don't want to take anything away from that standpoint, but it really is a matter of how fast of a race car your team brought you, right? And it's still the same today. It really is. Like even today, the pole today is because I had a really fast race car. I had more pressure to execute my part at a flat track like this, where you're upshifting twice, downshifting twice each corner, heavy brake zones, all those things. So it's more rewarding from that standpoint to go out there and execute and do it. The biggest thing is over the years, I haven't had a lot of opportunities at this, to qualify on the pole or have a shot at the front row and things like that. And as crazy as this sounds, I just had to remember to 15 years ago, 16 years ago, when I sat on like 10 ARCA poles, and I just didn't overthink it. I just went out there and did my deal. And if your car's fast enough, you get the pole, right? And so I just went into that second round thinking like that, like, you don't have to do anything special. You don't have to overthink it. You just got to go execute what you know you have to do and not overdo it. So I'm glad it worked out, because there's been times this year where I felt like we've had shots at the pole, maybe not quite as fast as we were today, but, third, fourth place car. And like I said, we ended up 6th or 7th, and you kind of leave bummed because you're like, oh man, but today we did everything right, and the car was really close from the time we unloaded and made all the right adjustments. And so I'm proud of the total team effort that we have. And, there's a lot of good things that are happening at Front Row right now. And, with the news this week of expanding to 3 charters, and the growth that we're seeing and the performance that we're seeing is awesome. And to back that up this week with, a pole on a legit hard racetrack to go get a pole, I feel like is, validating for everything that they're doing.
Dave Moody, Motor Racing Network, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. How proud are you in your ability and your team's ability to continue to perform at this high level, considering, your status for next year and the whole lame duck thing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're not a lame duck. I don't really know where the terminology originates from. You probably could tell me, because you're pretty good with words. You're a wordsmith, I feel like. But I hate lame duck. It's so lame. It's a lame word. I am as motivated as I've ever been to make sure that we win and make the playoffs, and for so many reasons, right? But more than ever, because I am making a change, and I want to finish what we started, and I want to do what I know we can do. And we have a group of people right now that we can win races, and I just have to do my part. And to me, it's more of not letting those guys down. And also, to me, it's Bob Jenkins has taken me from a guy that was running 30th every weekend to winning the Daytona 500 and winning Indianapolis and sitting on 3 poles this year. I'm going to give him everything I have, because that's what you do when somebody has changed your life, right? And so it's the only way that I know that we can do it. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? We will go to Lee.
That being said, Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Racing and Catchments.com. That being said, is there any animosity at all, knowing that you're kind of getting traded in for a new model? And I mean, I know you're going to give 110% because you're a racer and you don't know any different than that. But, I asked I asked Jerry what the options are, and he said, well, I want to find somebody like Michael McDowell, that I can mold into Michael McDowell. And it's like, well, if you have the original, why would you screw around with that? Yeah. And I'm just kind of curious, does it chap you a little bit that, you just couldn't finish out your career there?
That's a great question. It's an honest question, and I appreciate it. I think that the first week or two, as I was navigating, kind of what was in front of us, maybe a little bit, but not now. And the reason not now is because it always works out. And I know in my heart what I was supposed to do, and I think Bob knew in his heart what he was supposed to do, even though it doesn't always make sense. And it doesn't always make sense. But there's so many moving parts behind the scenes that not everybody knows, right? And I don't mean like a gossip. It's not what I mean. But probably the best thing for Front Row Motorsports and for Bob Jenkins is for me not to be in that 34 car, as crazy as that sounds, because of what it's going to allow him to do and what it's going to allow him to build his race team into. And yes, am I disappointed about that? Sometimes a little bit. But I also know for me, that I have a great opportunity in front of me, and I have a long future in front of me, and obviously I'm not done yet, right? And so I feel great about my decision, and I think Bob feels good about his decision as well. And there's no animosity. There's no hurt feelings. Sometimes it's just the way it works out. And I feel that this is how it's supposed to work out.
Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Benjamin Hockman from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. To win tomorrow, what's it going to take, and what have you learned about this track?
Well, it's going to take track position, which we start out with, and we have, and so we got to execute that. I've seen it be really powerful here before, just in 2022, I believe. We stayed out and took the lead and led like 50, 60, I don't know, somebody, where's the statistician, a decent amount of laps. And that was really eye-opening of like, hey, we just got to get out in front and we're going to be okay. And last year we had a top 10 car here as well. And so I'm not super shocked by our speed. I think it was exceptional today in qualifying for sure. And tomorrow it's just about executing, that initial start and pit stops. And there's so many variables, there's so many things that happen. And, when you're the leader, or if you are still leading, different strategies that people take. 2 tires here is an option, and, staying out and different things have been an option here. And so, you're going to have to be versatile. You're going to have to be able to keep the lead. And then if you do lose track position because of altering strategies, you got to be able to get through traffic. So much happens on a Sunday, on a race day. Today, I always say this, and this not just because I'm sitting here right now, but Saturday is a race of its own. And today we won the race. And tomorrow we'll focus on winning that race. But today we executed well and did everything we needed to do. And if we do that tomorrow, we'll have a shot at winning the race. But to win a cup race, you have to be perfect. And we've seen it. It's tough, right? You have past champions that haven't won a race in a long time. We've seen really, really good guys and really good teams that have the speed and are so close, but everything has to go perfect. And so we know what we have to do. We've been in this spot before as far as needing to win to get into playoffs and having speed. And, we have to rise to the occasion. And I think we will.
Let's go to Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports, you touched on. Do you feel like you have to win to make the playoffs as far out as you are?
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, if we run like this every weekend and we can score 20 stage points a week, then no. But the way that it looks right now, I think that we have to win. And honestly, that's the approach. That's always been the approach for us. Is even last year when we were close to pointing our way in, which we would have pointed our way in even without the win. We knew that we were going to Sonoma and we were going to Indy and we were going to Chicago Road Course and we were going to those places to win the race, and our strategy was to win the race, and it'll be the same this time. And we're not trying to score points to point our way into the playoffs. If we happen to do that because we're that fast and we're executing that well, then great. But I'm not counting on that. I'm counting on going and winning in the next 2 or 3 weeks and not having to worry about it.
And I'm curious, are you surprised Larson hasn't gotten a waiver yet? And do you have any opinion on whether he should get a waiver for not making it to the start?
I don't see the other side of this point at all. I think if it was me and I did it, and I think that that's a different situation, and I hate to say it like that, but Kyle Larson is going to win 5 or 6, 7 races this year. To sit here and say that he's not going to get a waiver because he brought, he tried to do the double and brought a tremendous amount of eyeballs on our sport and a tremendous amount of eyeballs on IndyCar and just helped motorsports altogether is crazy. And so I know that there's arguments to that, but I mean, come on, we're talking about the best driver that's ever sat in a stock car, and we're not going to give him a pass? That's crazy.
We're going to take our final question right back there.
Cole Kusman, Arizona Republic. Congratulations, Michael. Obviously in a great position tomorrow, starting on the pole, first pit stall. But I'm curious, how did your car handle in traffic during practice? I know conditions will be different tomorrow for the race, but
yeah,
such a critical thing, track position in this race.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was fun about today's practice was it wasn't split, right, as all of us out there at once. So like it or not, you were going to be in traffic. There was no clean racetrack. which kind of reminded me of the old days of happy hour, right? You'd roll out for happy hour, and there'd be 43 of you, and you'd be nose to tail, and you'd roll out and give yourself 2 or 3 car lengths gap and hammer down. And so we didn't run a whole lot in clean air. I was always catching somebody or attempting to catch somebody or passing somebody. And so I think that I got a good feel for what we need for tomorrow. But, when it's 8 a.m. or whenever we rolled out, right, 8:30, it's cool, overcast, slightly misty. That's not going to be tomorrow. And so, like I said, I really separate the 2 days. Today's all about 1 lap or 2 laps. It's about qualifying. And tomorrow, we know what we need to do. We've raced here before. We have a good notebook. But practice is not an indication of what you're going to have tomorrow. It's just not. And so we just have to make the right adjustments overnight, knowing that it's going to be warmer and sunnier, and the track's going to lose, tremendous amount of grip compared to what we had, and it's going to take a lot of rubber, and you're going to move around, and you're going to be up in that third lane on both ends, and so you got to have a good notebook that you can lean into, and like I said, I feel good about that just based on the fact that we had a top 10 car here last year. So
All right, congratulations.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the time.
All right, there's the checkered flag. Great job, driver.